Welcome back everyone, and in today's video we are going to discuss a very critical pawn structure which is also known as the Carlsberg pawn structure, which can arise into your game via different chess openings like exchange Caro-Kann, Queen's Gambit Decline and stuff like that. And knowing this pawn structure can extremely help you to improve your chess level skills and take it to the next level. And you might play this opening via with the white pieces or with the black pieces, and if you know this opening, I guess it is going to be extremely helpful for you to improve your game. So now let's quickly check it out. So we have this particular position right in front of us. We have this particular pawn structure and only king. So basically, what do I mean by the Carlsberg pawn structure here is, whenever you are having something like this, when the c pawn is traded with the e pawn, or the c pawn with traded with the e pawn, it doesn't matter, because basically whenever you are having a pawn structure like this, and white is losing the c pawn, black is losing the e pawn. So basically we have this pawn structure known as the Carlsberg pawn structure, and this particular pawn structure have also arisen in the World Championship match against Ding Liren versus Anna Pomniachtchi. So how to play in this particular pawn structure? So basically you can see a white pawn are looking on the queen side, whereas black pawn structure is looking on the king side. So basically here black goes for the king attack, whereas white goes for playing on the queen side by pushing his minority attack. Basically, as you can see, white is having 2 pawns on the queen side, and black is having 3 pawns on the queen side. So if I just remove these 2 pawns with these 2 pawns, you can just see that there would be a concrete weakness on the c6 pawn. And okay, we are just you must imagine that there are pieces on the board, like the rook must on c1, the rook is on c1, the rook is the queen on d2 and stuff like that. This position is just taken for a better understanding. So yeah, if I just remove these 2 pawns with these 2 pawns, we are having this particular c pawn, and it's a weak pawn. It's a weak pawn, and white can easily attack that pawn and get a good position. Whereas black is aiming to attack on the king side by pushing, perhaps by putting the knight to e4, trying to play f4, and getting the rook into the game, getting the queen into the game, and trying to checkmate white's king. But in the long run, as I said, white is going for the queen side pawn push, and they're going to create a weakness on the queen side and eventually win the game. This is the first idea. The second idea for white is very critical. White goes for playing in the center. As you can see, there's only single pawn for black in the center, whereas white is having 2 pawns in the center. So basically, white goes for playing f3 and try to play e4, try to grab a strong center, and he must prepare this idea. This idea must be prepared like 100% clarity, 100% accuracy, or else the plan goes wrong and the pawns will get into trouble, and black will be able to capture the center pawns, and white would lose the game. So basically, there are 2 real ideas in this pawn structure. White goes for a queen side attack, and white tries to play f3, e4 and try to occupy a great center, and even try to attack on the king side. So these are the 2 ideas. Now we are going to look at it deeply. So now let's quickly check it out. So we have the board full of pieces. So white starts with 1d4. Black plays d5, c4, e6. And here on the third move, we are going to play the move knight to c3. There are many players playing the move knight f3, but you must play the move knight to c3 in order to have a good position. I must tell you in the future what we are going to learn. So after knight to c3, black can play the move bishop to b4 and go for the nimzo. Okay, the pawn remains on d7, but okay. So basically after knight c3, black goes for playing the move knight to f6, which is the most obvious move in the position. And after knight to f6, here we are going to capture the pawn on the d file, into d file. And now, as I said, there is a white is losing the c pawn and black is losing the e pawn. So this particular position is known as the Carlsberg structure, the Queen's Gambit Decline. So yeah, now the point here is, black is not really liable to capture the d5 pawn with the pawn, Black can also go for capturing the pawn with the knight. And it's a fine move. You must know how to play it correctly, or else you're going to get in trouble. Okay, so how should White try to continue the game? We are going to look at it by looking at a very famous game of Lev Pologatsky versus Mikhail Tal, played in 1969. I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing White's names right, but basically Mikhail Tal is playing with the black pieces, and Lev Pologatsky is playing with the white pieces. And after knight into d5, Lev starts with e4. We have knight into c3, pawn into c3, c5. So this position is a very common position. All those who try to play the Grunfeld defense. Basically in Grunfeld we have g6, bishop g7, and black tries to put some pressure on the center. So we have c5, knight f3, pawn takes, pawn takes. So basically committing the knight on f3 is a good idea in this particular position, because the pawn is on e6, and so the bishop cannot go to g4, try to pin the knight with the queen. So putting the knight on the f3 is a good idea in this particular position. cd4. So basically white is having a very nice center. So in order to get something, black must try to trade off his pieces in order to just not get simply crushed by opponent's center break. So bishop b4 check, bishop d2, bishop takes, queen takes, short castle, bishop to c4. So both the players are playing very logically. Knight to c6 by Mikhail Tal. Short castle, b6. Black's idea is, even in Grunfeld or even in such types of position, is to play bishop b7, rook c8, and play like that. Rook to d1, bishop b7, rook e1. So yeah, white is trying to put a rook on the d file and putting a rook on the e file, trying to defend both the pawns. It looks very logical, and here we have the move knight to a5. Playing a move like rook c8 is also looks very sensible, and white plays the move d5 and the game goes on after knight f5. But okay, in the game, Mikhail Tal went for the move knight to a5. Hitting the bishop goes back. You definitely don't want to give up the bishop for the lousy knight, because it's a bad knight. Or a knight on the corner is just like knight on the rim is dim, I guess. So yeah, so basically after knight f5, we have the move bishop to d3. Perhaps there could be some ideas. Rook to c8, black is simply going for a very normal plan. Black idea could be to play queen c7 followed by queen c3. Trading off the queen, and here we have a very interesting move d5. A very strategical pawn sacrifice. After d5, we have ed, and here we have e5. If you try to capturing the pawn, it's not a good idea. After queen d5, black is going to play rook to d8 and just sacrificing the pawn is just like white didn't achieve anything by sacrificing the pawn, and it's an equal position after bishop h7, and this position is just an equal position. So yeah, so white pushes up the pawn, and here as you can see that there are some potential good chances for white to attack on the black king. So after e5, we have the move knight to c4 by Mikhail Tal, hitting the queen. Queen to f4. You don't really want to trade off the bishop with the knight. It opens up black's bishop and also gives some black's good counterplay on the center, and black's pawn is also very strong. So queen to f4, knight to b2, hitting the rook and the bishop. And here comes the best part, the Greek gift. Bishop into h7 check. A very strong move. You kind of have to capture, or else moving the king doesn't make any sense, because it doesn't make any sense. White can simply move the rook, and white have equalized the material. White is going for an attack, and it's game over for black. So basically, after bishop into h7, you have to capture. And here comes the best part, knight to g5 check. Always look out for such tactics in the game. Knight to g5 check, and there are 4 possible ways for black to continue the game. The most logical and the best move is to play the move king to g6. Going into the corner doesn't make any sense, because after queen h4, black is going to get mated. Like after rook e8, we have queen h7 check, king here, and e6, and the game is over. Like you can't really capture because of the push. We have a mate. So yeah, so king to g6 is the best practical try to play a move like f6, trying to hit the knight, and trying to prove that black capturing, basically sacrificing a piece, was simply a bad idea. So how should white try to continue the attack? The only move, h4. The move is very logical, trying to defend the knight. Rook to c4 by Mikhail Tal, hitting the queen. And here we have h5 check. The best move would have been to play the move rook to d4, but it doesn't really matter. H5 is also a very good move. King h6, you can't really capture because of g4 check. King goes back. Queen f5 check. And knight into f7 check. King here and cement. So yeah, the g4 check, you have to go to king to g6. Sorry about that, sorry. After h5, you must play the move king to h6, and now comes knight into f7 check, king move, queen f5 check. You can't capture because of rook into c4. Sorry, rook into c4, and black is winning. Black is better. So you must give a check, pawn push, queen f6. This happened in the game, and after rook d2, rook c6. A couple of moves were played, and you can see how white got some serious winning position, and eventually white went on to win the game. So this was a beautiful game of Lev Polugatsky versus Mikhail Tal, played in 1969. You can just save it as a model game. It would be a good idea. So yeah, this is what happens if black goes for capturing the d5 pawn with the knight. So that is the reason capturing with the e pawn is the most sensible way. You are capturing towards the center and not allowing white to grab a good advantage in the center. So after e d5, we have the move bishop to g5, pinning up the knight. c6, bishop e7 is also a move. So for example, if black doesn't really go for playing a move like c6, trying to defend the d5 pawn, there are some cool tricks coming up. Bishop e7, e3, short castle, bishop d3, knight to d7, knight to 2. We are not taking the move c6 into this particular variation. Rook e8, short castle, knight f8, and here white is having a very strong move, b4. As I said, if black plays the move c6, b5 move is already a very good move. As I said, attacking on the pushing up the pawn on the queen side is a good idea for white in such types of castboard position. So basically the point is, after b4, black is going to capture the pawn with bishop, and it looks like a free pawn. After bishop into b4, we are simply going to capture the knight, and after queen into, knight to d5. And you can see how white is having the complete control in the center. White is better in this position already. And yeah, white have already equalized the material, white is better. So in order to equalize in order to keep the material, okay, so in order for black to keep pawn up, black must capture with the pawn, but still, here comes knight into d5, a very strong move again. After queen into d5, we have queen f4. And white is simply hitting the rook on e8 as well as the bishop on b4. So, yeah, white is winning. Like if you move the rook, here takes. And as you can see, black is having a horrible pawn structure, white is having a beautiful pawn structure, and white is winning the game. So that's the reason you must always play the move c6. And if your opponent doesn't play the move c6, you can come out with this idea of playing the move b4 in this position. It actually works. So basically the point here is, if the pawn would have been on c6, for example, if I make a random move like c6 here, and if black captures, you can't really capture here, because after queen f4, the pawn is on c6 and the rook is not hanging. So black can simply go back and defend the piece, and black is winning. That's the reason c6 is the best way for black to continue the game. And here e3. Okay. So e3 is a move in this position. Though I would suggest for white to play the move queen to c2. It's the basic idea of playing the move queen c2 is to stop this bishop to f5 move. So basically black can't play the move bishop f5 because the queen on c2 covers it. The point is, after e3, the opponent gets the opportunity to put the bishop on f5. And here again is a very interesting line, queen f3. Hitting the bishop and the knight, the bishop goes back, and after pawn takes, a couple of trades, we have this position where black's original idea is to put the knight on the beautiful d6 square via knight d7, knight d6, knight c8, and knight d6. And once the knight reaches to d6 square, you can see how the knight covers all the critical light squares, and it's a good position for black. Black is having the bishop pair, which gives black a pretty good position. The position is equal, but yeah, white really didn't achieve anything concrete. Okay, except the black's pawn structure are simply bad. So if you want, you can continue this position. I don't know, perhaps a move like king d2, bishop d3, trying to trade off a piece. But yeah, even a move like h4, h5 can move. So yeah, that's the reason queen to c2 is the move I'm recommending. And after queen c2, you basically stop bishop f5. So after queen c2, we have the move bishop e7, e3, knight d7, bishop d3, and knight e2. So today we are going to look at this particular position where white does not commit the knight to f3. But as I said, there are two options in the castboard structure. White either go for the queenside break, as we looked in the previous game, and now we are going to look how white should continue the attack with f3 and e4. So now we are going to look at a game. Okay, so here we have the game between Mikhail Botvinnik versus Kirill Paul, and yeah, just don't look at the move order. We have this move order: bishop to g5. Bishop e7, e3, short castle, bishop d3, queen c2, knight e2, knight f8, short castle, c6, rook b1. So first, white is preparing for queenside attack. As I said, there are two real ideas, but we can see how in the future white is going to turn his idea, change his plans, and try to achieve the center break. So after rook b1, white's idea is to play b4 and b5. Black plays the move bishop d6, and black is trying to be very clever, or you can say extra smart. For example, black is hoping, if white makes a random move, for example, let's take b4, and let's play b5. Here comes a very powerful move by black, bishop into h2, king h2 when I check, and black can retain the piece, and black is completely winning the game. That is the reason black is hoping for. But okay, as I said, Mikhail Botvinnik is not a bad player. He's a genius at his time. This game was played in 1952 between Mikhail Botvinnik versus Kirill Paul. So after bishop d6, Mikhail Botvinnik came up with a very interesting move: king h1. King h1 is a very interesting move. The point here is, after bishop in h2, white is not really liable to capture the bishop. So first white is going to capture the knight, and then the bishop, and white is a piece up. So that is why king h1 is a very safe move, I would say, because white is preparing to play f3, e4. So putting the king to h1 would be a good idea, as it gives white king a bit safety. King h1, knight to g6, and here we have f3. Yeah, because Mikhail Botvinnik saw that black just wasted a move like bishop d6, because now if you look closely, if white is able to play the move f3, e4, white can really play the move e5 because the bishop and the knight is attacked. So getting into this idea is a pretty good idea to play this particular center break. So after f3, we have bishop e7 going back with the bishop, and basically black admits that it was a bad idea to move the bishop to d6. Rook to e1, white simply changes his idea from pushing up the queen side and to playing on the king side, in the center basically. Rook e1, knight d7, black trying to trade off the bishops. We have the bishop trade. So here, black is having two real good options to capture the bishop with the queen and the rook. Capturing with the rook is the most logical move, because black is hoping to put another rook to e8 and putting the queen to c7. This is the idea of black. Because you can also capture with the queen, but yeah, you just put the rook to e8, and it's black is still in the doubt where he is going to put his a rook. That is the reason rook into bishop looks a bit more sensible. Knight to g3, knight to f6, and here we have queen f2. So as I said, that if you are preparing to play f3, e4, trying to go for a center break, you must be extremely 100% accurate, or else there would be a big troubles. For example, if you try to play a move like e4, it's not working in this position because of the pawn takes. Black is preparing to capture the pawn on d4 in this position. The pawn on d4 is unprotected. So you first try to protect the d4 pawn, and white does it by playing the move queen to f2. And now the idea of e4 is extremely strong. And this is the thing of strong players like grandmasters. They try to do everything extremely slow, but with 100% accuracy. After queen f2, e4 is unstoppable. Black plays the move bishop e6, developing the bishop. Knight to f5 first. So basically, Mikhail Botvinnik first goes for knight f5, putting a knight at a very good square, hitting the rook. Going back with the rook doesn't make any sense. White can even play the move g4, cementing the knight on f5. And if you try to capture now, after g takes, knight d7, White can really go for a kingside attack with queen g2, rook g1, and it would be a trouble time for black. So it's not a good idea. So black just simply removes this annoying knight from the f5 square. Bishop f5, we have queen b6. Okay, so the idea is to put another rook e8 and try to put some pressure over like this. e4 by white, pawn takes, and now rook to d8. Black hitting the pawn on d4. e5 hitting the knight. Black tries to put the knight at the most idle square to the d5, and here white simply plays the move knight to e4. That is the idea of playing e5. You make a good square for the knight on e4, and now once the knight establishes on d6, it would be the game over for black. So after knight e4, we have knight f8, knight to d6, and you can just already sense it. Black is not really having a good counterplay in this position. White having a very strong center. All pieces are very well developed, and now the f7 pawn is going to be in trouble very soon. Queen c7 trying to defend. Bishop e4. So white is hoping to capture this good knight on d5, or perhaps going to use the queen to attack with the f7, h7, or even f7. Knight e6, queen h4, trying to threaten mate in 1. Okay, followed by queen h7, queen h8 is mate. So black stopped it by playing g6, and now there are many ways to win. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and here we are rook c1. So it's extremely good position. You can say good knight versus a active knight versus a passive knight. There are weaknesses all over the board. White's pawn structure is extremely well compared to black pawn structure. White can play the move rook f3, rook h3, and try to threaten checkmate, followed by even g4 if black tries to play the move h5. Okay, but Mikhail Botvinnik does it in a very accurate manner. He first hits the black queen, because if you try to play a move like rook f3, you're giving black some counterplay to enter with the queen. It's not a good idea. So first hitting the queen, making the queen go passive, and now playing the move rook c3. Rook h3 is a very strong move. And now comes knight f5, very strong tactical move. You can't take because of rook g3 check, knight king move, queen check, knight g7, and it's a mate. That is the idea. You can't really capture the knight, and after rook e8, you can see the rook is hanging, and if you try to move the rook, knight h6 check, king g7, queen f6 check. It's really game over. That is the reason black decided to give up the rook, but white is not going to get this bad rook in exchange of a good knight. So knight h6 check, queen f6, rook f3, and you can see black can't really defend everything. So we have takes, queen goes back, knight comes back, and now this is unstoppable. Queen g7 was played in the game, and there are many ways to win, but the best way, g4. The knight is pinned, and white is going to win a piece, and it's game over. So after the move g4, after the move number 37, Karispol resigned the game, and you can see how beautifully Mikhail Botvinnik converted this game. First pinning up the knight, e3, short castle. Okay, I guess after e3, black could have gone for playing up the move bishop f5, but okay. Short castle, bishop d3. We have this position. You see how black wasted a move now, f3, e4, and now e5 is a very strong move. So first playing the move king h1, trying to stop bishop into h2. f3, getting ready with his pieces, trying to play e4. Knight f5 takes, and now executing the move e4 and simply getting all his pieces into the game, and suddenly it's game over for black. So yeah, this was the game. So now coming into a very interesting lesson again. And the lesson here is, like, for example, if you have a position like this, and like there are moments when okay, the pawn is on c6, for example, let's take c6, short castle, and now knight h5. So there are moments when black plays the move knight h5 and try to trade off the bishop. So what should be the correct way for white to continue the position? We are going to again look at a game, a very interesting game. The game is between Korobov Anton versus Ernest Narkev. The game is from the World Championship Rapid 2015 Berlin. The game is very interesting. d4 played by Korobov Anton and knight f6 by Ernest Narkev. c4, e6, knight c3, d5 takes checks, bishop g5, and queen c2 as I suggested. Stopping the move bishop f5. Bishop e7, e3, knight d7, bishop b3. And yeah, as I said, how to continue if black puts the knight to h5. You must know this idea because there are many times black goes for this. After knight h5, white first trade off the bishop because you have to trade. You can't go back because it would lead to a bad pawn structure. Bishop trade is obvious. Knight e2, g6. So, okay, some good ideas in this particular position for black is to play the move knight g7, knight f6, followed by bishop f5, trading off the bishop. These are some good ideas from the black side. After g6, white goes for short castle. Going for a long castle can also be an idea, a very common approach in these types of setup. White castles short, black castle shorts, and white goes for the king side attack. But okay, Korobov Anton choose a very stable way to play short castle. We have short castle, and now rook b1. As you can see, the queen is on e7. So executing the move f3 is extremely hard because the e3 is hanging. So white is going for the queen side attack. Knight g7, g4, b4, and black tries to stop it by playing e6. a4, knight b6, provoking white to play a5, and here Korobov Anton still plays a5. Like many players don't really go for playing a5 because the idea is to play b5. Because it's a very good idea. You can just see how Korobov Anton played the game. Knight f4, and you can see how the dark squares are extremely weak and white can simply take control of it by putting the knight. So we have knight f6, and okay, before taking control of the dark square, there is the queen who is defending the dark squares. Black is not having the dark square bishop, but the queen is doing the job. So first, Korobov Anton removed the queen from the board. Capturing the queen is a bad idea for black because after b takes, the pawn is simply backward, and it's game over for black. There is no counterplay for black. Rook e8, and white trade off the queens, knight g3, h5. Playing the move h4 because h4 is a very strong move from the black side. And white is preparing to play f3 4. h4, rook e1, f3. Like the queen side is locked up. The queens have been traded. Now white have to go for the center break. Knight d6, f3, knight here. We have a trade of the knights. And here we have knight c5. Putting the knight on the dark squares. Rook e8, king f2, defending the e3 pawn. f6, rook e2. So yeah, white must execute the move e4. So white is trying to double up. King g7, e4 takes. So it's a close position. The knights are powerful compared to the bishop. And you can see how white successfully put all his pawns on the dark square, which makes the light square bishop of black useless. So after de4, we have knight e4, knight f5. If you trade off the knight, it's game over, yeah? It's game over. The knight is strong. It's basically a good piece versus bad piece, and the game is over. So knight f5, knight g3. If you try to capture, rook e4, the knight is attacked, and if you move the knight, rook come here, and if you go back, the piece is simply hanging. So yeah, white is winning. So basically, you can't really capture the pawn. You must play king f7. Knight takes, pawn takes. If you take, Here, white can simply trade off the rooks and capture the pawn, and it's winning for white. Yeah, white is a pawn up close position. White is having the knight. It's losing for black. So you must capture the pawn, and here Corbo Vanten came up with a very simple way to win the game, trading everything. But before trading everything, you must be sure that it's winning. You must calculate everything. King e3, king d5, king f4. The reason Corbo Vanten went for this because white is having this pass pawn. White is having the pass pawn. White can generate a pass pawn. These two pawns have stopped these three pawns, including this. And black is too slow. Like if you try to capture king f5, and you can simply win. So black went for capturing this and trying to push this. Got to get g4 takes, and here simply have h5. And if you push, I can take. And so black tries to capture the pawn, and white simply made the queen, and he won the game. And the point here is, if black goes for defending the pawn, white can simply make a waiting move, and it's a zugzwang. You have to move the king, and it's game over for black. g4 is coming in, followed by a pass pawn, and it's over. So this was a very simple way, a very strategical way to win against the queen's gambit decline with the white pieces in the Carlsbad structure. So yeah. So guys, this was the video in the Carlsbad structure, giving you again a quick summary. We have this particular Carlsbad structure. White's main two ideas is to first play on the queen side by pushing up the minor pawns and creating a weakness. And second idea is to play on the center by playing the move f3, e4. A very strong idea. And yeah, black's idea is usually to play the move g6, knight h5, knight g7, followed by bishop f5, trading the strong bishop. And yeah, this was the game. Okay, so we have discussed 3 games today. The first game was between Polygaskin Lev versus Mikhail Tal, played in 1969. What happens if black captures with the knight? The second game we discussed was between Mikhail Botvinnik versus Keres Paul, played in 1952 Moscow, where we discussed how to successfully execute the move, how to successfully execute f3, e4. And the last game where we discussed was between Corbo Vanten versus Ernesto Inakiev, played in 2015 in the World Rapid, where we saw how to continue if black puts the knight to h5. So guys, this was the Carlsbad structure. You must first play knight c3, not committing the knight to f3. You must play the move queen c2 in order to stop bishop f5. And then you put the bishop d3, knight e2, short castle, play f3, e4. But the idea of f3, e4 should be very timely, very much accuracy. You must check it in every move, and you can just play it. So I hope that this video might help you to improve your game. If it did, then make sure to like the video. If you are new to our channel, then make sure to subscribe to our channel and make sure to share this video with everyone. And because it helps even our community to grow bigger, and even many chess players around the world, it helps them to get stronger. So yeah, I'm going to come up with these interesting content like this. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching One Shot Chess. And now get out of here.